Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, 29 male, don't normally write into forums like this. And if you told me 2 weeks ago, I'd be dealing with wedding drama while trying to hold my premature baby's hand through a glass incubator, I'd probably have laughed in disbelief. But here we are. Let me take you back to where this mess started, and where, frankly, I stopped caring about being polite. My wife, 28 female, and I welcomed our daughter into the world 6 days ago. That sentence still feels surreal to type, even though I've barely slept since. The pregnancy was high risk from the start, not in a vague, cautionary kind of way, but in the we have weekly scans and constant monitoring kind of way. There were complications with my wife's blood pressure, issues with fetal growth, and eventually, a placental abruption that led to an emergency C-section at 34 weeks. Our baby girl, we named her Lila, came into the world weighing just under 4 pounds. She's tiny, fragile, but she's fighting. She was taken straight to the neonatal intensive care unit, and that's where she's been since. My wife is still recovering from surgery, and I haven't left the hospital for more than a few hours at a time. I sleep in a chair beside her bed or in the waiting room when I can. We take turns holding Lila's tiny hand, talking to her softly through the tubes and machines. This is not how we imagined the first week of parenthood would be, but we're doing everything we can. Now, cue the wedding. My younger brother, 26 male, married his long-term girlfriend, now wife, let's call her Jess, 2 days ago. I knew their wedding was coming, and before everything happened with the baby, I fully planned to go. We even bought them a nice gift, a high-end espresso machine from their registry that cost over $400. It was delivered a week before the wedding. I texted my brother the day before Lila was born, telling him that depending on how things went, I might not make it. He said he understood and that we'd figure it out. Then Lila was born, early, scared, breathing through a tube. It wasn't a hard decision. I did not go to the wedding, neither did my wife, obviously. I texted my brother the morning of the wedding to say we were thinking of them, that I hoped they had the best day ever, and to thank him again for understanding. I thought that was the end of it. It was not the end of it. Yesterday I got a text from Jess. Here's the gist of it. Hi. Since you and wife's name didn't come to the wedding and didn't give notice, we had to pay for your plates, which weren't cheap. Weddings are expensive, and we're trying to recoup some costs where we can. Could you please send $200 for the food? At first, I thought it was a joke. I asked her, "Are you being serious?" She doubled down, said she understood that my wife couldn't attend because she had to stay in the hospital, but that I could have come, that I didn't give birth, and there was no reason I couldn't have shown up for an hour to save those plates from going to waste. I was stunned. I honestly didn't know how to respond at first. I asked her if my brother knew she was sending me this message. She said it was between us, and I shouldn't drag him into it. She continued, "Weddings are expensive. We're not made of money. You could have at least told us you weren't coming, so we didn't waste food. It's not personal, just practical." Not personal. Right. I saw red. My newborn daughter is in an incubator. My wife just had emergency surgery. I haven't slept for more than 2 hours in a row since the birth. And this woman thinks that moment is the right time to come asking me for $200 over a couple of plates of beef or chicken? I snapped. I told her she was ridiculous, that her message was inappropriate, that this was not the time or place, and that, frankly, she owed us an apology, not the other way around. Her response? That I was making a big deal out of nothing, and that I was hurting her feelings for trying to be practical. That's when I took screenshots of the conversation and posted them to Facebook. I didn't tag anyone. I just said something like, "Imagine your daughter is in the intensive care unit and your sister-in-law hits you up for $200 because you missed her wedding. People never cease to amaze me." I let the screenshots speak for themselves. The reaction was instant. I got dozens of messages, some from friends, some from extended family. People were horrified. Several relatives commented directly asking if Jess was serious, saying this was beyond tacky and insensitive. Others messaged me privately to say how sorry they were, how proud they were of me for standing up for my family, and how appalled they were by her message. Jess, meanwhile, went into full damage control mode. She texted me again, saying I was shaming her publicly, that people were taking it out of context, and that I was making her look like a villain. She demanded that I take the post down. I said absolutely not. If she didn't want to look like a villain, maybe she shouldn't have acted like one. My brother finally called me, furious, said I had humiliated his wife, that I'd made their first few days of married life a nightmare, and that I owed Jess an apology. I said no. I told him she owed us an apology, especially for the part where she basically implied I wasn't a real parent because I didn't physically give birth. That was the part that upset my wife the most. That somehow, because I wasn't the one with the C-section scar, I was expected to throw on a suit and go eat steak at a wedding while my newborn daughter lay in intensive care. My brother didn't seem to get it. He kept saying, "It's just money. It was just food. She didn't mean it like that." But honestly, I don't care. Jess said what she said. She picked that moment to nickel and dime us over food we didn't eat, after we already gave them a generous gift. And more than that, she made it clear that in her mind, I wasn't where I was supposed to be that day. That being by my wife's side wasn't as important as attending her wedding. So now, the family is split. Some people are fully backing us, saying we had every right to be furious and that Jess was completely out of line. Others, mostly Jess's side and a few of my brother's friends, are saying I escalated things unnecessarily, that I shouldn't have posted it publicly, and that weddings are stressful. Give her a break. Even a few cousins have started messaging me saying, "You've made your point, and maybe I should take the post down now that the drama has exploded." But here's the thing. I'm exhausted. Emotionally, physically, mentally drained. My wife is trying to heal from major surgery. We take turns crying in the hospital hallway. Our daughter's heartbeat is a blip on a monitor we stare at for hours. We're barely holding it together. So, no, I'm not going to play peacekeeper for a situation I didn't create. I didn't ask for a war. I just refused to quietly swallow a guilt trip invoice while fighting the biggest battle of my life in an intensive care unit. I know posting to Facebook may not have been the most mature move. I acted on emotion. Maybe it was petty, but I also think silence is how people like Jess get away with this kind of behavior. Because no one calls them out. Because politeness takes priority over decency. So, Reddit. Am I an a-hole for refusing to apologize to my sister-in-law and refusing to take down the screenshots after she demanded $200 from us for missing her wedding while our newborn was in the intensive care unit? OP is definitely not in the wrong here. OP was literally in a hospital, watching over his premature daughter and helping his wife recover from surgery. OP's presence wasn't optional. It was essential. Jess asking OP for $200 over a meal is outrageous enough. But the part that gets me, saying you didn't give birth, that's not just insensitive, it's dismissive and cruel. OP was exactly where he needed to be, with his family. If she didn't want to be publicly shamed, she shouldn't have sent that vile text. OP didn't shame her. OP exposed her. And now let's hear community's opinion. Light yes, the a-hole. I get why you're angry. Jess's message was tacky and her timing was awful. But posting private text to social media always escalates things past the point of return. You had the moral high ground until that point. Then you brought in the crowd, and now people are focusing on the drama, not the issue. You don't owe her money, but you could have handled it quietly with dignity. Sometimes not reacting publicly is the most powerful response, not the a-hole. What Jess said wasn't just tone-deaf, it was borderline dehumanizing. The comment about you not giving birth, as if you're somehow less of a parent, was completely uncalled for. You've done everything right, supported your wife, stayed by your daughter's side, sent a gift, offered your well wishes. That's what a good man, a good brother, and a good father does. You didn't start this fire. You just refused to smother it in silence. Not the a-hole, and I hope she chokes on that $200 worth of shrimp cocktail. Your baby was in the intensive care unit. Your wife was recovering from major surgery. And this woman had the gall to come for you with a Venmo request, like this was some no-show brunch. The audacity is astronomical. If she didn't want to be seen as a villain, maybe she shouldn't have acted like a Disney stepmother. You don't owe her $1. You don't owe her silence. And you sure as hell don't owe her forgiveness. Me, male 26, and my fiancé, female 24, have been fighting about this for a week now. Her ex-boyfriend passed away over a month ago, and my fiancé was devastated because she told me it was unexpected. Thing is, they remained friends and were both part of the group, and had many mutual friends. To be honest, I don't know her group that much, and I met her via work, so I don't see her friend group much. She took a few days away from me after she heard the news because she couldn't stop crying, and said she wanted time alone to process what happened and sort out her emotions that were in a mess. I didn't mind that, given she was staying with her sister. She'd talk to me every night and say she'd be coming home soon. I didn't rush her on anything. Instead, I'd ask her if she needed something. She came home 3 weeks later and seemed calmer than before. She'd stay in touch with other mutual friends who knew her ex, and they'd planned doing things to honor him. She was talking to me and told me that she was planning on getting a tattoo on her wrist with his first name, on her left wrist. I was taken aback. I asked her where she came up with this idea and why she decided without telling me. She lashed out at me for saying that it felt weird to me. She went on about me not losing a loved one and experiencing this kind of pain. Therefore, I wouldn't understand how important it is to her. The conversation turned into an argument, and I told her that I'd be postponing the wedding, which was supposed to be on January, until she reconsiders her decision of getting a tattoo. She called me selfish and blamed me for not wanting to tell me anything, saying that I'd say no. She went back to her sister, who thought I was pressuring her during these rough times. I wasn't, and I don't know how I reacted like that. I just never dealt with a situation like this before. Now I have to apologize before I even have another discussion with her. Not the a-hole. The kind of performance grief your girlfriend is pulling here is just gross. It's not about her dead ex or even the guy's family. It's all about her. How this guy dying impacted her, and how she is sad. And, oh, that tattoo of a man's name on my wrist? Don't ask. It's too traumatic. Just know I'm strong and deep, and you wouldn't understand. Blah, blah, blah. Don't postpone the wedding. This is a perfect opportunity to just bail altogether. Not the a-hole. Don't get another man's name tattooed on you while we are together is an incredibly reasonable boundary. If she wants it permanently on her body badly enough, she can do that. But she has to realize how damaging that will be to her current engagement. Oh my gosh, not the a-hole. Her request seems quite ridiculous in my opinion. I'm very sorry for her loss, but by tattooing it on her body where it is visible at all times is blatantly disrespectful to you, her current fiancé. You should really try and explain that by tattooing her ex's name on her, she is permanently keeping him in both of your lives. And to be honest, I wouldn't be okay with that at all. Obviously, it's her body, so her choice if she wants to get a tattoo. But it's your choice if you want to be with someone who has such an attachment to their ex. So, I, male 22, moved out of the house this past summer, and I've honestly been extremely happy with finally escaping my old home. My mother, female 40, has not been a good mother in any sense of the word. She put the largest expectations in the world on me, to the point where she would force me to study every waking hour and not be satisfied until I had finished basic elementary school by 3rd grade. I had no friends and absolutely no free time, and if I didn't live up to her daily quotas, I would get ignored or get a scolding that would tear me down till tears. I finally had enough of it as soon as I hit 15 and started rebelling, smoking, fighting, and partying were the basics of how I would fight back, and it only ignited a daily war against her that honestly killed something in me. The week before I turned 18, I proclaimed my intention of moving out, and I was honestly financially ready for it. I knew with absolute certainty that I had a little over $60,000 in a savings account that I would be granted access to on the day I turned 18. So I had more than enough to take on a loan, buy an okay duplex I had been eyeing, moving out and renting the second apartment to a friend to help pay off my loan as I studied. I had already talked to the bank, and all they needed to move my application forward was the official acquisition of my savings account from my mother. She denied me moving out, and I quote, "You are not only too young to live out, but utterly stupid to even consider squandering the savings I've worked up for you on such reckless actions." I calmly informed her that I knew that money did not, in fact, come from her, but from a culmination of me and my grandfather. She got horrendously pissy and ended up closing the argument with, "We will see." Lo and behold, on my 18th birthday, the account did indeed get turned over to me, with a big fat zero as its balance. I was horrified and checked the transaction history to see that she had transferred all the money to herself, and after confronting her, claimed that it was for my own good, and I should be thanking her for me not making a foolish mistake. It took a year before she finally came with the statement, "You will get it back when you're done with your studies." and has since been using the money as a form of blackmail to make me give in to her whims. I tried saving up myself to finally move out, but she caught on to me having an independent stream of income and started charging me for rent, utilities, and food. It took me 4 years to scratch and hide away enough for a deposit to rent an okay apartment near my university and finally move out last summer. I've since blocked her everywhere and started looking for a lawyer to look at my legal options of acquiring the money back. Keep every communication you have with her. What an evil witch! Sue her. Even if you speak to a local ex-lawyer, it's better than nothing. File an actual police report, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Definitely check with a lawyer. If your money was in a trust and she was supposed to manage that trust until you turned 18, there would have been rules she needed to follow in order to withdraw any funds. If she violated that, you should sue. However, if the money was just in a savings account with no protections, you might be out of luck if she was the joint owner due to you being a minor. A lawyer can sort it all out for you and advise the next step, but you definitely have a right to this. I don't think you'll get that money back. Not that you don't deserve it, but because she'll find some other way to duck you in the end. Fact is, she's a jerk, and you deserve better. I hope you find a great path in life, not the a-hole. We decided to have a phone-free wedding reception, mostly because my mom and a couple people on my side are social media addicts, and I did not want anyone live posting from the wedding or blocking my expensive photographer to get a crappy cell phone picture. After reading about the concept online, I decided to do an unplugged ceremony and have everyone put their phone in a basket before they were seated. Well, mother-in-law rose hell. Mother-in-law isn't even that into her phone, but is the type who, if there is any rule, she just has to break it. My husband tried explaining why it was important to her. My mom tried reasoning with her about how it was our day and just follow the rules for once. But mother-in-law was irate. She said if she couldn't have it, it was going in her husband's car because we had no right to touch it. Our venue was a family friend's house, which was gorgeous. But since it wasn't a traditional venue, the parking kind of sucked, and mother-in-law had been one of the last to show up anyway. So her car was pretty far away, maybe 7-minute walk one way. She was in Hills, so maybe a little more. This was right at the time the ceremony was ready to start, so my wedding planner let me know the situation and asked what I wanted to do. I said we weren't waiting for her. We started right on time, and mother-in-law returned a little more than halfway through. My husband was sad but all right with it. He is very afraid that it is going to get to the point that to be the best husband he can, we will have to go no contact, or at least temporarily. So while it made him sad, he is okay with me putting her in her place as needed. After the wedding, multiple people on his side told us what a-holes we were for not waiting when she wasn't gone that long. Mother-in-law claims she doesn't care, but is still mad about the phone thing, and saying she will never step foot in our new house if we're going to go on power trips like that. This has caused a big rift between my husband and his sister, though, so I was wondering if I went too far. Edited to add. The information was on the wedding website, which, to be fair, she probably didn't read because, as the mother of the groom, she knew most of that information. She was warned that we would be starting on time. Yes, the a-hole. I wouldn't be comfortable putting my phone into a basket that a big group of people have access to either. Wanting to go lock it up in the car was a reasonable response that followed your rule. It doesn't sound like you warned guests ahead of time of this rule, and you didn't even warn her in the moment that the ceremony was going to start without her in under 15 minutes, when you knew it would take her 15 minutes to get back. Literally all you had to do was wait a few minutes. But because you were feeling petty, you made your husband sad and created an unnecessary rift. Of course, yes, the a-hole. You couldn't wait a couple of minutes for your mother-in-law? Your husband's mother? His mother? To see him get married? It was a power trip, not the phone thing, but starting the ceremony without her. It was making a point to her, a pretty cheeky point. You should have waited and you purposefully didn't because you don't like her. It's his mother. Yes, the a-hole, but not about the phone thing. Your wedding, your rules. But I think you went too far not waiting for her. You robbed this woman of a once-a-lifetime memory of her son getting married, and that's just shameful. She'll never get that opportunity back because you decided it was okay to steal it from her. What a hateful thing to do to another human being, and on a day where you become part of her family. She spent decades of her lifespan raising that young man into a person you felt worthy of marrying. You owe this woman your thanks for that. She literally birthed a husband for you. If you had a son, would you be pleased if his bride couldn't wait a mere 10 minutes for the ceremony to commence? I've attended 15 plus weddings in my life, and not a single one of them started on time. I remember waiting a full hour for one of them. My fiancé and I got engaged around the same time as both of my parents. Divorced, engaged to other people. I didn't think much of it, beyond that it was a strange coincidence. But my fiancé expressed a couple of times that she thought it was weird that they were both planning weddings around the same time as their son, and she felt most parents would want to focus on their child. Recently, she came to me and asked if we could postpone for a year. I was immediately concerned and asked why. She said that she didn't like feeling in competition with my parents, and it was ruining the experience for her. She feels bad about our wedding because she can't afford for it to be as fancy as theirs. My dad's fiancé is doing everything super over the top, and my fiancé feels lame. My mom's is much smaller, but the stuff she's getting is really high-end. She also said she's jealous of my mom's dress, and it's really ruining the experience. For some background, her and my mom hate each other. They've got to the point where they are civil, and we just don't get together that much. But I know deep down they really can't stand each other. My dad's fiancé is very braggy and likes to one-up people. I do get why that would bother her, but I still can't imagine postponing marriage a year. I said she was being pretty shallow, and it makes me feel like we are in for a life where she will be constantly disappointed because I'm never going to be able to buy her the things my dad and mom's fiancé can get their partners. We are solidly middle class, and I do work full-time, but that isn't going to happen. She said I'm being mean, and I should have validated her feelings. She's pretty hurt right now and mad that I called her shallow, and wants me to be fully supportive of postponing. She isn't going to my mom's wedding, and I support that. We are currently distancing ourselves from my dad and his fiancé, but I felt I had to be honest about my feelings, and I don't see this as a good reason to postpone. Dude, everything you've just written down, if you love your future wife, postpone it to whichever date she wants. She's definitely not shallow for thinking that you're the a-hole, but really, it's a crap situation. Learn from your parents' mistakes, and have a bit of give and take from the get-go. Yes, the a-hole. Your fiancé told you that the wedding planning experience has turned into a feeling of competition rather than a joyous experience. To anyone reading this, that is accusing this poor woman of being jealous or that she needs therapy. Chill the duck down. The way OP describes the story was that she opened up her feelings to him, and he was insensitive. We are allowed to feel insecure and jealous from time to time. What matters is how we react to those feelings. And fiancé's request was to postpone the wedding, which I think shows some maturity, honestly. It doesn't really matter if her feelings stem from jealousy about how her wedding will compare to the other two. She doesn't feel comfortable, so postpone the damn thing. You calling her shallow is very hurtful, especially knowing that your mother hates your fiancé and seemingly started the relationship rift, as well as saying that she'd never see her grandchildren with you because she thinks you and your fiancé are stupid. You also don't have a relationship with your dad or his fiancé, but are expected to also be at their wedding? No wonder your fiancé is feeling uncomfortable. Maybe she didn't use the right wording, but take a moment to look at the entire situation and try to empathize with her a little bit. Having in-laws that hate you can be relationship ending. You are about to get married, and if you can't support her now, maybe she shouldn't be marrying you at all. You're the a-hole. She wants her wedding to be a day she's proud of and happy with. Two women, who you have mentioned in the comments, aren't even going to be allowed to meet your grandchildren because they will be insulting, are rubbing their wealth in her face. She wanted to postpone the wedding so she wouldn't feel outshined, and you just insulted her. Most women love wedding planning and getting everything settled regardless of the budget. You are ruining y'all's wedding for her. Some quick background. My middle brother is getting married in July. It is a destination wedding which will require me and my partner to spend a good deal of money to get there, along with accommodations, food, etc., during the trip. This is not a problem as I really want to attend my brother's wedding, and I haven't seen most of my family in years. About a week ago, my dad texted me to ask me how much money I'm giving my brother and his bride for their wedding gift. My dad has always been sketchy with money, but I felt comfortable answering this question and told him I would only match half of what my younger brother is giving him, which would be $300 for me, because I am spending more money and have to make more arrangements to attend the destination wedding. Right after I mentioned this, my dad starts to hound me over text, asking if I could possibly give my brother and his fiancé the gift sooner rather than later, as in now. I told my father I would be giving them the money in an envelope on the day of their wedding. My father proceeds to tell me that they are hurting for funds to pay for the wedding, which is set to cost $25,000, and they really need my $300 or the wedding might have to be postponed. I didn't have much of a response to that, So we kind of just ended the conversation there. Now, every morning since that conversation, my dad sends me texts and tries to contact me over the phone, and continues to tell me that unless I send my gift over, the wedding will have to be postponed indefinitely. I'm thinking it's good I didn't buy my plane tickets yet, because things in my family always get shifted around at the last minute. I told him politely to let me be, and that I had made up my mind, and that they probably shouldn't have this expensive wedding if they need my gift that much. I told him I was getting off as I needed to get ready for work, and he called me selfish and asked how I could do this to my brother. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to give my brother his wedding money and possibly causing his wedding to be moved? Not the a-hole. There's something sketchy about the concept that your brother needs just $300 to not have to postpone a $25K wedding. And indefinitely? You should maybe reach out to your brother rather than taking your father's word. Not the a-hole. Something sounds really off and I can't figure out what. However, I agree with you. Your brother and his fiancée have no business having destination weddings when they couldn't afford it in the first place. Too bad for them, and too bad if they have to postpone it. They can go get married at the JP office. Either way, their financial problems are not yours. As for your dad, tell him your brother can fight his own battles. Why does he have daddy constantly harass you? What is going on? By the way, $300 can't possibly be the factor why they can't get married for a wedding that's supposed to cost $25K. Not the a-hole. And this makes me wonder if Dad was handling the finances and now needs to plug the holes he created with money mismanagement. I would call the brother and get the actual facts and probably go low contact, no contact with dear old Dad.